If you're a project manager right now and you're spending most of your time learning new tools, new frameworks, or new AI features, this video is going to save you a lot of wasted effort. Because 5 years from now, most of what you're trying to keep up with today will either be automated, replaced, or treated as the bare minimum that you should already know. And that's already starting. AI can already write status updates, generate project plans, summarize meetings, and build dashboards faster than PMs can. So the real risk for project managers isn't that AI replaces the role. The risk is that it exposes which PMs never develop the skills that actually make a difference when projects get messy, political, or unclear. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the project management skills that will still matter in 2030, not in theory, not in job descriptions, but inside real projects where decisions have consequences. And just as important, I'm going to explain which skills will stop mattering, even though a lot of PMs are still spending most of their time and energy on them. Most project managers don't intentionally invest in the wrong skills. They invest in the skills that get rewarded right now. If you're working as a PM today, you can feel this pressure constantly. A new tool rolls out, and suddenly everyone is expected to be fluent in it. A new framework gets adopted, and now meetings revolve around whether you're doing it right or not. AI shows up and people start racing to see who can automate the most of their day first. See, none of that makes you foolish for paying attention to it. Those things genuinely matter in the short term. The problem is many of those skills are very fragile. They look valuable because they're visible. You can demonstrate them quickly. You can put them on a resume. You can sound competent in interviews by naming them. But they don't hold up when the environment shifts or changes. Think about tool mastery. If you've worked long enough, you've already seen this cycle throughout your career. One organization lives inside Jira, another swears by Asana, a third builds everything in spreadsheets and calls it custom. You can be excellent at a tool and still feel clumsy the moment the environment shifts or the environment changes. That doesn't mean the tool was useless. It means the value was tied to the context, not to how you think. Frameworks work the same way. See, Agile, Scrum, SAFe, hybrid approaches, they're all helpful as a structure. But the moment a project stops fitting the diagram, rigid framework thinking becomes a liability. If you've ever sat in a meeting where the plan technically followed the framework, but everyone could feel that the project was drifting away, you know what I'm talking about. The process was right, but the situation wasn't under control. That's where fragile skills start to show their limits. Another fragile area is mistaking activity for value. A lot of PM work looks very productive on the surface, like meetings and status updates and follow-ups and building dashboards. Those things matter, but only when they support decisions. If your role mostly consists of moving information around without shaping what happens next, you're already exposed. AI is already very good at moving information around. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't miss deadlines or details, and it doesn't mind repetition. That doesn't mean that PMs will become irrelevant. It means a part of the job that was never about thinking is no longer protected. Here's the uncomfortable part. Many PMs feel busy all day and still feel uneasy about their future because at some level, they sense this. They're doing a lot, but they're not sure how much of it would matter if the environment changed. And that anxiety is real. It's pointing to the difference between skills that help you operate inside a system and skills that help you operate when the system changes. The PMs who struggle when things shift are usually the ones whose value is tied to familiarity. Familiarity with a tool, familiarity with a process, familiarity with how things have always been done. When those things change, confidence drops quickly. The PMs who stay valuable are the ones whose skills travel with them. Not in a poetic sense, but in a practical one. They can walk into a new environment and ask the right questions, understand what matters, and bring structure to confusion, even when the tools, language, and processes are unfamiliar. That's the distinction that matters going forward. And once you see it clearly, the question stops being, what should I learn next? It becomes, what skills will still help me when the tools change and the process breaks and the situation isn't clean? That's where we need to spend the rest of our time. Once you stop anchoring your value to tools and frameworks, a different picture of project management starts to emerge. The skills that last are not the ones that make you faster at your job. They're the ones that keep you effective even when things are unclear. One of the biggest of those skills is decision-making under uncertainty. On real projects, you almost never have perfect information. Requirements change halfway through, dependencies surface late, someone important disagrees at the wrong moment, a risk shows up after the plan has already been approved. In those situations, the worst thing you can do is wait indefinitely for clarity that isn't coming. A strong project manager learns to recognize when more information will genuinely help and when waiting is just postponing that responsibility. That doesn't mean making reckless calls. It means making the best decision available with the information that you have, explaining why you're making it, and staying engaged if it needs to be changed later. That ability improves with repetition. The more times you've seen how small delays turn into bigger problems, the easier it is to act earlier the next time. Another skill that compounds is problem framing. Most projects don't fail because execution was poor. They fail because everyone was solving a slightly different problem. You've probably been in meetings like this. Everyone agrees on the plan, but they're agreeing for different reasons. Engineering thinks the goal is stability. Leadership thinks the goal is speed. The business thinks the goal is minimal disruption. And nothing breaks immediately on the project, but the tension is building underneath the surface. A strong PM notices this early. They slow the conversation down just enough to clarify what success actually means, what constraints actually matter, and what trade-offs are being accepted. That kind of clarity is not something a tool can prove or provide. It comes from listening carefully, noticing misalignment, and being willing to ask questions that feel slightly uncomfortable. Prioritization is another skill that will age well over time. Modern organizations are full of urgency. Everything sounds important. Everything is framed as time sensitive. Yes, AI can help you list options or rank inputs, but it can't decide what actually deserves attention in this specific context. It doesn't understand political realities, hidden dependency, or which delay will cause the most impact downstream. Experienced PMs learn that saying yes to everything creates chaos later. They get better at deciding what not to do, what can wait, and what truly needs focus now. That judgment doesn't come from studying prioritization techniques. It comes from living through the consequences of poor prioritization and then adjusting afterwards. Communication is another skill that will stand the test of time. On most projects, different groups care about different things. Engineers focus on feasibility and stability. Executives care about risks and outcomes. End users care about disruption. A strong PM knows how to communicate the same reality in a way each group can understand without distorting the truth. That requires awareness of context and power, not just good wording. Risk awareness is closely related. Most risks don't announce themselves dramatically. They appear as vague answers, delayed responses, or assumptions that no one has validated yet. AI can potentially flag these risks based on pattern, but it can't tell you which ones matter now and which ones can be monitored in the background. That sense of timing develops through exposure. You learn when to raise something immediately and when to let it mature a bit before acting. So if you take a step back, you'll see a pattern. The skills that last are not mechanical, they're judgment-based skills. They don't make you faster at producing output, they make you better at steering work when conditions aren't ideal. And as projects get more complex and environments change more frequently, those skills don't lose value, they actually gain value. A lot of the anxiety around project management right now comes from a misunderstanding of what AI actually does to the role. People look at AI writing status updates, generating plans, summarizing meetings, and they jump to the conclusion that project managers are being replaced. That's not what's happening, guys. What AI is really doing is removing the layer of work that used to hide weak thinking. For a long time, a PM could look valuable simply by producing a lot of output. Clean plans, polished updates, well-formatted trackers, those things still matter, but they're no longer rare. AI can do that work faster and make fewer mistakes. So output alone stops being a differentiator. What remains visible is how well you think before and after that output is produced. Here's a concrete situation most PMs will recognize. A project slips by 2 weeks, AI can instantly generate an updated timeline, a revised status report, and a list of new risks that might surface. But it can't decide whether that slip actually matters. It can't tell you which stakeholders need to hear about it now versus later. It can't judge whether escalating will calm the situation or make it worse. Those decisions still belong to the project manager. This is where many PMs misuse AI. They treat it like an intern and pass whatever it produces along without giving it much thought. They let it frame the problem. They accept its assumptions. They rely on it to decide what matters. That makes them faster, but not better. Strong PMs use AI differently. They use it to explore scenarios, not to choose outcomes. They use it to surface blind spots, not to avoid responsibility. They use it to sharpen their own thinking before they communicate, not to outsource their judgment. For example, instead of asking AI to create a project plan, a strong PM might ask, what assumptions in this plan are most likely to break? Or if this slips again, what second order impacts should I worry about? Notice what's happening in these questions. The PM is still doing the thinking. AI is being used to stress test it. This is why AI ends up amplifying durable skills rather than actually replacing them. If you frame problems clearly, you get better AI outputs. If you understand trade-offs, you interpret results more accurately. If you communicate well, AI-assisted work lands better with people. Weak PMs get faster at producing noise. Strong PMs get better at producing clarity. As AI removes more mechanical work, the difference between those two become impossible to hide. At this point, the line should be very clear. AI is not a substitute for project management thinking. It's simply a force multiplier for whatever thinking is already there. So if your understanding of the project is shallow, AI will help you produce shallow work faster. If your understanding is clear, AI will help you test it, refine it, and communicate it out more effectively. The mistake PMs make is letting AI sit too early in the process. They open a tool before they've even clarified the problem. They ask for outputs before they've even decided what matters. They rely on AI to shape the narrative instead of challenging it. That can feel efficient, but it erodes credibility. Here's a common situation. You leave a meeting where the conversation was messy and unresolved. Different people walked out with different interpretations of what just happened. A weak use of AI is asking it to summarize the meeting and then sending that summary out immediately. That just spreads out more confusion and it doesn't resolve anything. A stronger use of the AI starts earlier. You take a few minutes to decide what actually matters from that meeting, what decisions were made, what questions are still open, where alignment is still shaky. Then you use AI to help you test your understanding. Is there another interpretation of this decision that I should be aware of? What questions would an executive likely ask after reading this update? Now AI is supporting you, not replacing you. Another boundary that matters a lot is accountability. AI doesn't own outcomes. You do as a project manager. So if something goes wrong, the tool suggested it is not going to be a credible explanation. That means the thinking has to live with you, not inside of a prompt. Strong PMs treat AI the way they treat any other input. They evaluate it, they adjust it, they review it, and then they decide whether to act on it or not. That's why prompting is not a technical skill in the way people think. It's an extension of problem framing. If you don't understand what you're trying to solve for, no prompt will save you. If you don't understand the trade-offs, no output will decide them for you. When used correctly, AI reduces cognitive load. It helps you see patterns faster. It gives you options to consider, but the responsibility for direction stays exactly where it always has, with you, the project manager. And as that becomes more obvious, the PMs who remain valuable are the ones who never outsource their thinking in the first place. So the practical question is, how do you actually build these skills without stepping away from your job or trying to reinvent your career? The answer is not adding more information, it's simply changing how you approach the work you're already doing. So let's start with decisions. Every project gives you small decision points constantly. Do you escalate this now or do you wait? Do you push for clarity or let things stay vague? Do you accept a soft commitment or ask for something firmer? Most PMs move past these moments quickly because they're trying to keep things moving. But those moments are where your judgment is being trained, whether you notice it or not. Slow down just enough to be deliberate. Ask yourself what decision you're actually making and what you're optimizing for. That habit will compound more than tool training ever will. The next thing to focus on is clarity. Before you involve AI, force yourself to explain the situation in plain language. What are you trying to change, or what are you trying to solve? What constraints actually matter here? What would success look like in real terms? If you can't answer those questions clearly, AI will just make the confusion more organized. Once you've done that thinking is when AI becomes useful. It can help you test assumptions, surface risks, and compare options, but it shouldn't be deciding direction for you. Next, pay attention to communication. Notice where people leave meetings with different understandings. Notice when updates seem clear to you but create follow-up questions for others. Those moments point to where clarity is missing. Strong PMs don't talk more to fix this. They slow down and adjust how they explain things. Finally, stop framing your growth around what to learn next. Instead, Look for leverage. Where can you make fewer decisions but better ones? Where can you bring structure to situations that feel scattered? Those are the moves that stay relevant even with AI. By 2030, project managers won't be separated by who knows the most tools or the best prompts. They'll be separated by who can think clearly when work is uncertain and people are pulling you in different directions. That skill doesn't expire. It becomes more valuable. And if you build it intentionally now, you won't need to chase whatever comes next. Hopefully you now understand what skills to focus on in this new age of AI. And if you focus on these skills, you'll stay relevant for years to come. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. And I also just want to mention I operate a live PMO where people like yourselves can gain real hands-on IT project management experience before they even get the job, and they can start cultivating these skills that I just mentioned inside of that live PMO. So click the link below, check it out for yourself. And if nothing else, I'll see you on the next one.